Okay, so the president's personal attorney heading to Eastern Europe to encourage a foreign government to press ahead with an investigation or two that may very well damage a political rival of his client. We're talking about Joe Biden. Well, tonight, there are calls for a Senate investigation and more. So let's ask the man himself, the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. Mayor, great to have you with us tonight.
How are you, Shannon?
I'm good. Now, listen, you've heard a lot of the questions about why you're doing this and whether it's okay.
Sure. Oh, my gosh.
I want to read you something from the New York Times. Won't surprise you that they're not fans of this idea.
Oh, my gosh.
I know,
that should be really objective. That should be really objective.
They say Mr. Giuliani's plans create the remarkable scene of a lawyer for the president of the United States pressing a foreign government to pursue investigations that Mr. Trump's allies hope could help him in his re-election campaign. And it comes after Mr. Trump spent more than half of his term facing questions about whether his 2016 campaign conspired with a foreign power. So,
wow.
Mr. Mayor, let's start with the optics.
Well, that really turns it around. I mean, the reality is that I wasn't going there to encourage them to start an investigation. They have an investigation. They have an investigation of how Ukrainians helped the DNC and Hillary operatives to get, in some cases, false, dirty information about the Trump campaign. In one case, an absolutely, completely falsely created book that's already been determined by Ukrainian courts. There was a great fear that the new president would be surrounded by literally enemies of the president who were involved in that, and people that are involved with other Democratic operatives, and one particular oligarch who's quite corrupt, and that they would influence him. And I'm convinced from what I've heard from two very reliable people tonight that the president is surrounded by people who are enemies of the president and people who are, in at least one case, clearly corrupt and involved in this scheme. And it's really a shame. And the reality is this has nothing to do with the election of 2020. The election of 2020 is a long time from now. And if I wanted to meddle in that election, which I don't, I could have held this for a year and dropped it right before the convention. The reality is I came about this by accident investigating Ukrainian collusion with Democrats to affect the election and also to help create the false narrative against the president. And over the next 3 to 4 months, you're going to find out all about that, including the corruption that went on with the Steele dossier and the corruption that went on with Papadopoulos and the way he was set up. It's all part of one large conspiracy that has about 2 or 3 parts to it.
Okay.
So I've decided, Sharon, I'm not going to go to the Ukraine.
You're not going to go?
I'm not going to go because I think I'm walking into a group of people that are enemies of the president, in some cases enemies of the United States, and in one case, an already convicted person who has been found to be involved in assisting the Democrats with the 2016 election.
Okay, so
a gentleman, I'll give you his name.
Your decision not to go. Your decision not to go.
Let me finish. A gentleman by the name of Lashenko,
yes,
who supplied a black book that was found to be fraudulent and never used because it was a fraudulent, incriminating statement that was totally untrue.
Okay, so how much does your decision not to go to the Ukraine, have to do with the pushback and the blowback from people, including, we've got Senator Chris Murphy basically demanding that the Senate Foreign Relations Committee open an inquiry into your
Well, I wish they would,
there.
actually, because I would then be able to lay out the unbelievably incriminating evidence about members of the DNC, members of the Clinton campaign, who were involved in gathering information there that was negative to the Trump campaign, including a meeting at the National Security Council in January of 2016, in which people in the Obama administration asked for negative information about Trump, and they asked Ukrainian officials for that. That's all a matter of record in the Ukrainian investigation that they are trying to have quashed now for the second time. Joe Biden succeeded in doing that in 2016. It was reopened 2.5 months ago, and they're trying to quash it again. At the time that Joe Biden did it, his son was under investigation for getting something like $3 to $10 million from a crooked Ukrainian oligarch who was hiding in Russia. And he got it while Joe Biden was the vice president of the United States and was in charge of relations with the Ukraine. And in that tape that you saw, Joe Biden had the prosecutor general dismissed. And then the case against his son was dropped.
Let me ask you about this, because there are questions.
Wait. That stinks. The facts are stubborn. And eventually, this is going to have to be investigated.
Okay. Well, Vanity Fair
I will
says
get
this.
out of it in order to remove any political suggestion.
Okay.
I will step back, and I'll just watch it unfold.
Okay. So no trip on Sunday. No trips to Ukraine.
No trips because I believe I was walking into a bunch of people, one of whom already has been found to be involved in this that I wasn't aware of. And I think this was a setup.
Okay.
And the whole thing, by the way, is a setup from the very beginning. And that's what you're going to find. It goes back to at least January of 2016 when they decided that they should deal with the Ukraine. You're also going to find, I think, that some of the Steele memorandum was written in the Ukraine. After all, Steele didn't go to Russia for 9 years. How could he have written a memorandum about Russia if he hadn't been there for 9 years? And how could Comey have accepted it as true without asking him that?
Okay, let me ask you about something here.
You phone call for intelligence information?
I don't know, because I'm not a spy. I don't know how that works. But let me ask you this. I want to give you a chance to respond to the former top lawyer at the FBI, James Baker, today about this idea that there was some kind of coup underway or that there was malevolent bad action by people against the president then as a candidate. This is what he said today about that idea.
All right.
There's no way in hell that I was going to allow some coup or coup attempt to take place on my watch, or any conspiracy to do anything unlawful. No way.
Mary says it's just, there's no there.
Well, that's what Peter Strzok said about the first counterintelligence investigation of President Trump. And then they went ahead in a second one anyway. So I don't know, the FBI statements at that level, these are the politicians at the top of the FBI. Baker is not an FBI agent like the guys I work with in New York or in Washington in the street who find these guys to be, you know, kind of like slimy politicians. So I don't know if Baker's telling the truth or he isn't. But there's no doubt, I don't know about a coup. A coup is a very big word. There's no doubt that when Comey signed that affidavit using the Steele dossier, which he didn't bother to verify, which if you read it, reads like a porn novel, and worse. As an intelligence expert, the first thing you would do, and I did about 50 Pfizer affidavits, first thing you do is verify it. And the first thing you'd find out is Steele wasn't in Russia. Then you would find out that Steele said that money was given out of the Russian consulate in Miami. There is no Russian consulate in Miami. And then you would find out that he said Cohen was in Prague on a specific date. And all you'd have to do is pull Cohen's passport, and you'd find out he wasn't, and he never was in Prague. And I can go on and on and on. Either Comey was sleeping for 5 months, or he deliberately didn't want to verify that, and he gave false evidence to the court in order to invade the rights of an American citizen who turns out to be perfectly innocent. Well, so I don't know what you call that. I don't know if it's a coup or it's making a false statement.
Well,
but it's one of those things, and if he doesn't get investigated, there is no justice in this country.
I think between the Attorney General, the Inspector General at the DOJ, and U.S. Attorney John Huber, all of those things are investigation. But I want to make clear before you go, you're not going to Ukraine. Are you going to try to continue to influence those investigations anyway, or are you just stepping back completely?
Well, I don't know. I'll play it by ear. I'll see what is going on. I am actually quite confident that the facts with regard to former Vice President Biden are so compelling that there's no way he gets from here to the election without this being investigated. And he would be better off getting it investigated now, where it really isn't going to affect the election. It's 17 months away. Than waiting until next year. Your son doesn't pull millions of dollars out of a crooked country that you're overseeing. You get the prosecutor dismisses. His case gets dismissed. And then the same or a similar thing happened in China with even more money being taken down by the Bidens. That doesn't happen without an investigation unless we live in a country that's so dominated by Democrats that we have two different sets of rules.
Well, there's a lot of investigations happening everywhere.
Tell me if this wouldn't be major news if it were the Trumps. If this was Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. with the same allegations, do you think they would be putting the focus on me or on them?
Mr. Mayor, we're out of time. We're out of time. But listen,
don't bother to answer.
I want you to tell me.
Just have your viewers answer.
We will.
What do you
we'll
think?
Let them
you think there's a double standard in this country?
All right, Mr. Mayor, please keep us in touch with what's going on. But for now, we'll let the world know you're not headed to Ukraine.
I'm not going.
All right.
So they can call me before a
committee. We're out of time.
And maybe I'll take executive privilege or something.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh boy, you're making another headline tonight,
well, let's see what
Mr.
can
Mayor.
happen. But
thank you for dropping in.
They are really pathetic, and
we
they're
gotta go.
scared, and they're on defense.
All right, we got to go. Thank you for dropping in. Great to see you.